Alright guys, so back in a new video. Today we will rate from hardest to easiest what are the best tools. We gathered multiple things that are very used in the gaming industry, so we do not even have just game engines, we have also a very familiar tools used in the industry. So to start with, we are going to rate Game Maker Studio. Game Maker Studio is one of the easiest ways to make game dev. It's because of its very beginner friendly UI interface. Yet in making some complex indie projects, Game Maker could be a bit more than beginner friendly. We saw multiple complex games being developed under Game Maker Studio, like Undertale, for example, one of the most known indie titles. So I would say, according to your actual project, it could get even to moderately hard, but because most projects in Game Maker Studio are a bit indie and a bit not very complicated, we could rate Game Maker Studio as manageable. So because it's a tool, game engines are a tool that rely hardly on like the scale of the project that you are doing. The thing is, I'm talking about here the learning curve of the engine or the use of it. I'm sorry for the picture if it's not really obvious, because their logo is also gray as the program. Here we have Perforce. Many people that are in the indie industry and are not really relatable to the AAA industry don't know about even Perforce or WY's tools. They are AAA industry tools that's been used for multiple years in the industry. So Perforce is a source control tool usually used by AAA industries like Ubisoft, for example, which is very handy, but it's way a big headache for actual developers and one of the hardest thing to use in the industry. I would actually, in a prior experience of using Perforce, put Perforce as brutal to be used and implemented. Here you have custom game engines. So custom game engines could scale from something really complicated and used in the AAA industry, and could be something that is manageable in scalability, like making a 2D custom game engine for your 2D game. Otherwise, make the learning of making a custom game engine, the planning, the pre-production and the production of a game engine is a very hard thing to do, either for 2D or 3D projects. And usually we do not use custom game engines for games that are very easy to do, like platformers. They are usually done for either trying to have a game engine for your AAA studio, so you don't need to pay the royalty fee, or to customize it as you want for your video game, or usually custom game engines are done for special features that are not found in any other engine. So custom game engines could go easily to the very hard thing to actually does, and it should be in brutal, but I've put it in very hard because some people do program only 2D custom game engines. So according to scalability, you could do something like a custom game engine for 2D games. Sprite is one of the most known pixel art platforms that you could use to paint stuff. Sprite actually is like almost used only for pixel art. So Sprite could go to a beginner friendly. It's a very beginner friendly interface and very beginner friendly UI and learning curve for the program. It's just that this rely actually on your skill on how to make a good art, but in the learning of the platform, in the use of the platform, it's one of the most beginner friendly tools out here. Unity Game Engine. Okay, so Unity Game Engine is one of the most things that is very hard to classify, because you could make a very simple video game in Unity, and it's because it's used like this, not like Unreal, which is usually used for a very big commercial projects. Unity, you could do like a Flappy Bird clone game, or you could do a full AA to AAA title in it, either 2D or 3D, so it could get very complicated or very simple to use, even in like educational purposes. So Unity is actually either brutal or moderately hard. Because of the different render pipelines, and because Unity is not as easy as many people think to really understand everything about it. It has a very complicated interface with a double kits of render pipelines, so it's very confusing for most beginners. So I would say Unity is moderately hard right now because they have a lot of versions and different render pipelines. I guess they need to just publish a thing for Unity, a new version of Unity that it has just one render pipeline, just like Unreal Engine, that is the definite version to use, like Unity 2, for example, or Unity 7 to be the thing like that. Because currently Unity is very, very messy. And most people that use the engine in a very complicated way and making big commercial games in it. I'm doing that in my game Robotical, and it's very confusing, the use of the render pipelines in it. I know that because of prior experience trying to deal with Unity. Maya, okay, so in making simple 3D objects, you could learn that in both Maya and Blender, but the complexity of Maya in the topology and the tools and the actual learning curve of Maya to actually make AAA standardized industry standard models, 3D models, it takes a lot of things to learn. You need to learn topology, UV and texturing. You need to learn the modeling, maybe bones and animations. Maya is even harder than Blender, and one of the brutal things to try to learn actually to deliver an industry standard model or an asset for your video game. So again, Maya is very, very complicated. Blender, many people think it's a very beginner-friendly tool, but actually Blender is way more complicated because Blender does not only contain modeling, it contains also sculpting, and it contains fluid simulations and simulations. So it's like a mix of Substance Painter, ZBrush, Maya, and also Houdini. All in one platform, in one tool. So Blender could go very hard if you actually want to learn everything related to Blender. People actually made full movies and cinematics in Blender, which is something like most tools like Maya, Houdini and stuff like that just go to brutal because of the specifications in it, but because it's not very usable for beginner indie devs or devs in general, because of the high price of the subscription and the non-beginner user interface and learning curve. Maya usually, with Houdini and other tools that are similar to it, goes to brutal. Blender, because some people could do like small low poly 3D models, it could go even to moderately hard, but usually the full use of Blender could go to very hard thing to do. Godot, it's manageable because again, many people don't understand the scale of Godot because it's a very new coming engine. You could easily scale it to very hard if you did a 3D game in Godot and if you spent some time doing a very nice render pipeline and a nice physics simulation for a very detailed 3D game for Godot. It's just like doing a 3D commercial title takes a lot of time before publishing. Like it takes 4 to 6 years, and that's what people do not understand about Godot. It's just because it's a small new engine. It does not have a big commercial titles because commercial titles take a lot of time to develop in the engine. So we might see AAA or even very big 3D projects in Godot actually after 4 to 3 years in my calculations, because it got familiar with the people in the last 2 years only. So I would right now say that Godot is manageable, but it could scale way higher in the future to very hard or moderately hard, just like Unity. Substance Painter, I would say moderately hard because Substance Painter is easy for people if they wanted to do simple stuff, but it could scale up to something very complicated, especially for if you were working in a AAA project, and AAA projects usually use substance matter. The only reason like why we are saying these as moderately hard and Godot as manageable, it's just because they are most commonly used in AAA industries, and so the learning curve gets way more complicated, and these tools are usually not used in the AAA industry, so that's why they are not getting complicated, because each tool could do the same thing, especially for game engines. It's just which one is being used actually currently now in the AAA industry. Spine 2D, I would do this as manageable too. Spine 2D might frustrate many people because many people want to do skeletal animation inside the engines, not in a different program. So it's just like Houdini. People refuse to go to Houdini and try to use Blender instead of it, yet Houdini is one of the best procedural animation programs out there because of the hard learning curve of trying to learn another program just to add a simple feature for your video game. So many people don't want to use Sublime, but it's one of the nicest, best skeletal animation tools out there, and it's 100% recommended for people who want to do skeletal animations. Tiled. Actually, tiled is something that is very used in 2D games, that either RPG games or platformer games, the games that have a lot of tile set and need a lot of work on tile sets or production, especially if you are like having a big team and the mappers are different from the people that are working in the code and the implementation of the art for the engine. So usually it's a very beginner friendly tool. It's not very familiar with developers. I don't understand why, and I hope many people use it because it's one of the best tools that you could use for your video game, especially if you have a big production with different big tile sets. Unreal Engine. See, Unreal Engine is one of the most complicated game engines out there, not including custom game engines, because of how hard it's to do things in Unreal, especially if we are talking about C++ coding for it, not just using visual scripting, which is the case for most of the games that are used currently in the industry for AAA and AA industries, and even indies, they cannot do everything just by visual scripting. Usually people need to do C++. So that make Unreal Engine one of the most complicated engines to deal with, yet usually you get a very nice things like very nice graphics, very nice tools for cinematography or cutscenes in video games. They are way better managed in Unreal Engine, but it's one of the hardest engines to deal with, especially with the updates, the very major updates that they did, which again, if you're making a video game, you should not update your version of the tool that you are using. Stay on the version that you are using, even if the features are so tempting, because it's gonna ruin your project almost. So do a backup if you want to test that. So Unreal had a very controversial thing when they actually released Lumen and Nanite, that many people did not understand how these technologies actually work for optimization, and they used the old optimization techniques for their video games. So multiple games actually in Unreal sucked in optimization just because of the misunderstanding between the people that actually worked on these major updates in the engine and the lack of documentation to the actual big production companies. Like for example, the 3LODs, they should not be designed as oldly designed in the 3D pipelines of the gaming AAA industries as much as of the new technology for Nanite. So that's why they needed, when they like released a new versions of the engine, to actually specify this in documentations. Many very specialized art directors in Unreal Engine explain that more in detail, so I would check their channels and see the subject in more of details, because optimization in Unreal is a very big thing to discuss as a game dev, especially if you're going for a big 3D commercial title. So many people talked about it, how it's different, how Unreal is trying to fix the misunderstanding in the current use of nanite and lumen inside their engines. So I would definitely say, because of these complications, it's one of the most tools that we talked about even today. Just because of these complications and the use of C++, Unreal goes definitely for brutal. Again, there is multiple tools that I would really love to talk about. I would make a series in the future about what are the tools that actually is being used in the AAA industry that multiple indie devs just don't know about it. Like, go right now, check WWise, check Perforce. Multiple tools are being used in the AAA industries and not very well known to indie devs. So I'm gonna make a series just to make you introduced to these tools that's been used in the industry for a very long time, and many people just don't know about it because of somewhat of gatekeeping actually from the industry. So I'm gonna do a series for that very soon. Thanks for watching. Give us your opinion in the comments, and definitely don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.